school board meetings if they disagreed with school policy. I read it to protect the members of the school board who in my state and others have been threatened with their lives, intimidated to the point where they resigned from the school boards because of the coercion that was being extended toward them. Also, I can't understand this theory that what happened in the Capitol building on January 6th was so innocent. It was far from innocent. I believe some 800 have been prosecuted. Does the deputy know the number?
Over 1,000, Senator.
Over 1,000 have been prosecuted.
Charges brought, excuse me, Chairman, over 1,000 charges brought.
Over 1,000 charges brought. It is hard to imagine that anyone could keep a straight face and say they stepped in through a broken window for a sightseeing tour of the Capitol. That is incredible. What happened that day, 150 members of law enforcement were assaulted, some very seriously, suffering injuries they're still trying to recover from. And there was also the reality that a number of people died as a result of that insurrection. The fact that it happened January 6th was no coincidence. January 6, 2021, if I'm not mistaken, I know I'm not mistaken, was the day chosen when we counted electoral votes to establish who would be the President of the United States. There was an effort by those who denied the results of that election to question its results, and I can tell you that that was even witnessed yesterday by the compromise or settlement that resulted in Fox News paying close to $800 million as a fine to Dominion Corporation that manufactures election machinery on the premise that there were misstatements made on the air about what happened that day. I hope that this has been brought to rest, this whole question of the legitimacy of the election in 2020, but it still is being played out. I'd like to say a word, if I can, about Section 702. Section 702 is a device or procedure used by our government to keep us safe. I believe that is the premise of it, to make sure that if we suspect that someone overseas wishes us ill or is going to do something in a negative way, we learn that ahead of time and stop it from happening. That is a noble and proper goal for it to pursue. The reality is, though, in the process of intercepting messages from foreigners, we often involve Americans in the same conversation, millions of them. And the question is, are those Americans losing their constitutional rights for due process by the 702 procedure? I have voted against 702 consistently in the past, but I've been assured there will be efforts made by this administration to put in safeguards so that innocent civilians will be protected from losing their constitutional rights in this process. I hope we can work together on that goal ultimately to be achieved. So there are many issues before us. I thank you for your patience.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, you have taken a second round of questioning.
No, I wasn't
I would
a
ask
second
for
round
one.
of question. That was a chairman's statement.
Well, you also asked questions, and you offered a moment ago an opportunity for a second round. I would certainly appreciate that.
I did not offer for a second round.
Okay, so your rules are you get a second round of questioning and no one else does?
No, the rules are you don't make them up. I'm the chairman.
You make them up.
I appreciate the Deputy Attorney General appearing before the committee.
You're continuing your pattern, Mr. Chairman.
Well, you're continuing your deportment. I'd like to conclude today's hearing by sharing the words of a leader I deeply admire. I had a chance to meet with him last year. Sadly, I fear I may not have that privilege again. His name is Vladimir Kara-Murza, a fearless Russian dissident and a champion for democracy. On Monday, Mr. Kara-Murza was sentenced to 25 years in prison by Russia for speaking out against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Last week, the Washington Post published his final testimony in the sham trial. Mr. Kara-Murza said, and I quote, "I know that the day will come when the darkness over our country will dissipate, when a war will be called a war, and a usurper is a usurper, and when those who kindled and unleashed this war, rather than those who tried to stop it, will be recognized as criminals. This day will come as inevitably as spring follows even the coldest winter." Mr. Kara-Murza may not live to see justice for Russia's crimes against Ukraine, but he is absolutely right. That day will come. It's only a question of when. And we in this